Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sarah Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. Today, my guest will be talking about disordered eating, eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and the importance of gaining your physical body back and how it relates to your spiritual and mental health. I know you really need that strong physical foundation to work on your mental and spiritual growth, whether it's overcoming anxiety, an eating disorder, and depression, losing weight, detoxing your body in the proper way, and even just increasing your level of frequency in life. You really need that strong physical foundation of health in order to gain the willpower to make the bigger changes in your life. If you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. You can find my health articles, my cutting edge natural supplements, devices, and protocols at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Accelerated Health Products is the sponsor of the show, so as you support my website, I'm able to bring you more cutting edge content and guests to the show. Before we dive into resetting physical, spiritual, and mental health and resetting that relationship with food, I wanted to talk about my monthly free group coaching that comes with the Accelerated Ascent Diet Cleanse. This is my most comprehensive cleanse, and the groups that go through it report easy fat loss for those stubborn pounds, increased and sustained physical and mental energy, better bowel movements, a decreased appetite, and the ability to intermittent fast, better sleep, less moodiness, and something that's called cellular permeability. And that's the ability of the toxins to get out of the cells and the nutrients to get in. And you really leave with this sense of control and a healthier mindset about your relationship with food. So it really plays into what we're talking about today. The difference between me and any other group coaching is I provide the most cutting edge frequency enhanced supplements that work synergistically with each other, and your body doesn't experience those flu-like symptoms. You truly do feel great day one. I use a few supplements that help give you that head start and regaining that healthy relationship with food and makes you feel more in control. And the first one I wanted to just mention is the Accelerated Keto. This does not mean you have to be on a high-fat keto diet. It doesn't tell you exactly what kinds of foods you're going to eat, but what it does do is it puts you into ketosis within 30 minutes and then lets you do the work, gives you that control. When the body's running on ketones produced by the accelerated keto, combined with a low-carb diet instead of utilizing glucose for energy, that ATP production, which is true cellular energy, increases significantly in the mitochondria, and mitochondrial biogenesis is optimized. That's your energy. That is not the monster drink. That's not the coffee. That is true cellular energy. And the additional ingredients in the accelerated keto helps break down saturated fats into unsaturated fats. And these unsaturated fats are easier for the body to utilize and easier for the body to convert to ketones. So when you're exercising, the body fat is more readily available to burn for energy, which increases ketones and autophagy mechanisms further. And because of this property, accelerated keto is also able to defat the liver as well. And that's the dangerous fat, the fatty liver and the visceral fat. Accelerated keto goes after this. So as you are doing this, feeling more in control mentally and physically, you are actually cleansing your liver, which the liver is so important for so many jobs. It is important to get rid of those toxins to help with the thyroid conversion of T4 to T3, which increases your metabolism, your mitochondrial function, and increases your energy further. Something else that accelerated keto has is something called HMB. HMB is known for preventing muscle wasting. Most people, most bodybuilders look for leucine in a protein powder to increase that muscle protein synthesis. What people don't understand is it's the leucine that converts into HMB that is important. And only 3% of leucine converts into HMB. The accelerated keto has straight HMB in it, not just the leucine. That HMB provides an additional secondary source of a ketone body and has been shown to prevent that muscle wasting. With more healthy muscle tissue, more mitochondria, you will get increased ATP in addition to the already increased ATP. And the second one I just wanted to mention that is in my accelerated Ascent Diet Cleanse is the Accelerine Iodine. And sufficient iodine in all tissues and cells help produce 36 ATP versus only 2 on a regular cell. So that is 18 times the ATP production just from the Accelerine. And this Accelerine iodine is the only iodine that is not only radiation free, most have radiation and toxicity in them. It is 100% bioavailable. Most iodine supplements are only 10 to 20%. And it helps kick out those heavy metals and the radiation and the other toxins out of the thyroid and all the other tissues in the body. It is extremely important for thyroid health, and it increases the T4 to T3 conversion that we mentioned before in the liver. So just wanted to mention those. I also do have some LifeWave stem cell activation patches that help give you that benefit, increase ATP production, reset over 4,000 genes in your body to help your body act as if it's its younger self, and you get the results much quicker. My philosophy is let's give you a head start. We all need to heal our relationship with food at some level, whether you're suffering from a deep eating disorder or just have disordered eating or a relationship with food that needs tweaking a little bit. That head start in giving you a physical foundation is always going to give you a better footing to work on that mental and spiritual health. So now to the good stuff. We're going to dive in with Jonathan Shane. He is an FNTP, a nutrition coach, an ultra athlete, and ketogenic enthusiast. He has used nutrition and mindset change to defeat an 8-year battle with bulimia and body dysmorphia. This is actually rare for men, and so it's so great to have him on to talk about it from a male perspective as well. Years free of his disorder, he spent his life helping others break food addiction, find foundational nutrition, and become the best version of themselves. Welcome, Jonathan. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
I am too, because it's so interesting. You talk to so many women out there. I mean, I don't come across a lot of men with disordered eating, but a lot of women, they may not look like they have an eating disorder, but they're saying, Sarah, you don't understand. I'm having a small salad for lunch, and then I have, a little piece of chicken and some broccoli for dinner, and I can't lose the weight. And you're sitting there going, okay, you don't look like you have an eating disorder, but obviously there's something going on there. But before we dive in, I really want to start with your journey, because that's going to shed some light on where this conversation is going to go and spark so many questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey really started when I was 14. I picked on some emotional eating habits from family members. And it led to me being 260 pounds when I was 14 years old. I went to the doctor's office. I got on the scale. I remember it said 259. I don't forget the scale. I still remember that scale. I remember getting on it. Doctor looked me straight in the face and said that if I was older, they'd be telling me that I'm on, I could pop it any minute. My cholesterol was super high and not the good kind. And just, I need to get my life together. And, at a very young age, that could have really went sour. But instead, I took it as an opportunity. And I remember I went home and I just started working out, and I did the whole bro diet, all that stuff, lost all the weight. I lost it super fast. Obviously, not understanding what I was doing to my hormones. I didn't understand anything about macronutrients, micronutrients, hormones. I didn't understand any of that. I just knew I had to get the weight off, and fat in my diet equaled fat in my body coming off. So I just completely removed all the fat out of my diet. I lost about 100 pounds in about a little over a year. And then because unfortunately, society really picks on people that are overweight. Right. And so I not only was picked on, but I kind of created an image for myself of, the clown that made fun of himself too, because that was better than not really being noticed at all. I'd rather be negatively attended to than not attended to at all. And then when I lost all the weight and I went back to school and stuff like that, they treated me different. I started to get in relationships, and I started to have social acceptance. And all of that really caused me to develop a fear of gaining weight, because I associated my weight loss with social acceptance. And to be honest, I didn't really understand it at that time. But the reality was I didn't like myself. And so I needed other people to validate my existence, my purpose. And so I became so scared of gaining weight that I developed an eating disorder, because even though I was scared to gain weight, I was doing things to my hormones that were creating a lot of environments in my head that would lead to binge urges. That at that bright of a young age, I don't know how to control binge urges. I'm just going to eat the pizza. And then I didn't want the pizza, so I threw up the pizza. And that continued pretty aggressively for about 2 years. And then when I turned 16, it was really bad. I remember, it was just like cheat meals, or, really, really bad meals as I determined them. But it got to the point where I was throwing up at school. I was throwing up at home. I was throwing up in the shower. I was throwing up salads. It didn't matter. Anything was on the table. If I felt like it was going to make me gain weight, I was scared of it. In fact, I remember one time I was at school and they give these side salads, and I put a little bit of ranch on it. And I remember after eating it thinking, I saw a puddle of ranch in the bowl, and I thought, that's too much ranch. And so I went and threw up. I remember that. And then when I was 16, so fast forward 2 years, I became a Christian. I found my faith, and that plays a big role in me beginning the battle of trying to at least deal with it, because it was at that point I realized, okay, so I have value outside of me that's not dictated by me, but by whom I have faith in. And so it doesn't matter if I'm big, small. It doesn't matter my physical circumstance, my social circumstance. None of that matters. What matters is that my value is in him, right? And that helped me go, okay, so I need to, and if this body's mine, right? Like, we're bought with a price based off the Christian faith. So if I'm bought with a price and my body's no longer my own, I'm supposed to live as a living sacrifice, then I got to start taking care of this thing. And bulimia is not taking care of this thing. And so that really started that journey. And then it lessened. It went down to maybe once every couple months. I would be okay. I could manage it. And then if I had a bad week or a bad weekend, I would have a relapse. Fast forward till 20, I get married. Still have it. I remember times I do it. And then no matter how well I clean the toilet, my wife come in the room and be like, did you throw up? And I'm like, oh. Like, she always knew. I hated it. And then when I was 22, I was in one of my yo-yo dieting phases. I was trying to lose some more weight, and I fell upon the ketogenic diet, and I got on it, and the weight came off almost effortlessly too. And I was like, oh, this diet's awesome. And then I tried to get off of it about 3 months later. I felt like crap, so I got back on it. And then I cheated again. I had Christmas cookies in 2017. I had Christmas cookies and mashed potatoes with dinner. And obviously not with good oils or butters or anything like that. And so I woke up the next morning and I felt like crap. And I was like, never again. I'm never eating bad food again. I don't want to live that way. And that was literally the last time I've ever had refined sugar, grains of any kind. Those foods just have not been a part of my diet since that night, Christmas Eve of 2017. And then I decided to do a bodybuilding competition on keto, and I did. On the rebound after, I was struggling with binge tendencies, and it brought back a lot of old habits and thoughts. I ended up relapsing on bulimia. It was September 15th, 2002. 2018, September 15th, 2018, was my last relapse. And I remember afterwards looking back and going, oh my, I went 9 months without a relapse. This is the longest I haven't had a relapse since I went keto. It's the longest I've gone since I've developed this. So nutrition matters. But then I was like, but then why did I still do it? And that's when I really started to dig into the mental health, right? So I had the spiritual foundation. I figured out the nutritional supplementation that I needed and everything I needed there. And I realized that the mindset work was all that was missing. And so I started working on developing your why and all the things that, the road method and all the things that I help people use and utilize to deal with their own issues going forward. And that was the last time I relapsed. It's been almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years this September since my last relapse. And it's been a journey uphill since then, for sure.
Wow, I have the chills. And I love how you laid out your spiritual health, physical health, and then mental health. Mm-hmm. And they're all intertwined. And I feel like some people can heal one before the other and they interplay. So I'm still trying to figure out if there's an exact formula, whether you have to be physically strong to then work on the mental health, or like you, which was great, is that you found your spiritual calling to say that there's something bigger out there than me. And I owe it to God to take care of this vessel that I've been given. But what I want to talk about is that physical part, because what people don't realize, and this has been through my process of learning, is I never felt good when I ate certain foods, and I became very picky, and people thought it was disordered eating, but it was just that things weren't feeling good. Well, the reality is when you eat fake sugars, when you eat processed vegetable oils, they disrupt that appetite signaling from your gut to the brain. So the brain isn't getting the signal, oh, I'm full, I'm satisfied, where that CCK hormone that is triggered in the gut to tell the brain I'm full comes from wild animal protein, healthy fish, and the amino acids. Those amino acids are not in pizza. They're not in ice cream. They're not in Pringles. They're not even in the ketogenic processed foods that people are eating. And then you've got the unhealthy fats that are still low carb in the keto processed foods, right? But then the other part is a lot of us were growing up on a low-fat diet that sugar is great. Eat as much sugar as you want. So we have these blood sugar regulation issues that are going up and down that trigger the brain, like I'm starving, the craving is not going away, which then leads into, okay, am I restricting, or am I then going to binge and purge, or just binge, right? Eating disorders that also includes just binging and keeping it in. And so there's this part of that physical nutrition that the brain is telling you, I need to keep eating until I get the vitamins, the minerals, and the nutrients in my body, and then I'm going to say I'm okay. But if you're eating the wrong foods, you're never going to get that signaling, and then you're going to eat so much, and then you look at how much you eat and you go, oh my God, I just ate so much, I'm going to gain weight, or I'm out of control. I'm bloated. Why am I bloated? I just ate the wrong vegetables that make me bloated, even though they're healthy or low carb, whatever it is. You've got a lot of mismatch on what the signaling that is happening in your body. And then, you throw in the binge and purge, right? Then your electrolytes are out. And your body may be getting rid of so much acid out of the stomach that can't break down the next meal you even try to put in there. So that's also, I want to touch on that. Did you notice that it became easier and easier to throw up? And then did you notice, okay, I'm eating a healthy meal that I'm not planning on purging, but all of a sudden it's just not feeling good in my stomach because I don't have the enzymes to break it down from the repeated purging? Does that question make sense?
It does. So the first one, did it get easier? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I have friends that struggle with bulimia too. And we always had jokes about like, we did we were way past using our fingers, right? Like we know how to like make it happen, because the thing is, and this is really hard to wrap your mind around unless you've experienced it, but a lot of bulimics that are really just like gripped to the disorder, it's not, when it first starts, it's about the food, but then you get kind of addicted to the act itself. And what I mean by that is when, and this is going to get a little graphic for people that are listening. I'm an open book, so I'm very transparent. When you throw up like that and you're forcing it, it's extremely stressful environment, which is going to spike cortisol. It's going to spike adrenaline. It's going to spike dopamine, right? And so you get all of these feel good, high intensity, stimulating neurotransmitters and hormones going. And then this feeling of fullness that is uncomfortable because you ate so much is now gone. So you have a feeling of relief, and you have all these dopamine and positive, fun, stimulant feeling hormones circulating your blood system. And so it's like a rush. It's like a relieving rush. And so you get used to chasing that sensation more so than just trying to keep the weight off. It becomes a nasty addiction to that too. And so, yeah, it absolutely gets easier because you want it more, right? It's when everything else isn't going right in life, I know what I can control. I can control putting food in my body, and I can control getting it back out. I know that if I want to just throw up, I know that ice cream is the best way to do that. I know this, I know that. I know if I'm going to eat a pizza that I need to drink diet soda right afterwards to help bubble it up. Like, you learn all these tricks. It's crazy. Looking back on it, it's crazy how caught up in that world I was. And it is its own little world, especially when you can't see it. So it definitely got easier. Now it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be now. Now I'd be, I don't know, I can't even imagine relapsing. It's been so long. But I'm sure it wouldn't be the same sensation. As far as what was going on and why, I think that's why I became an FNTP. In fact, I know that's why I became an FNTP. The reason I got that nutritional certification is because I wanted to understand, okay, I understand that keto is helping me. And mind you, when I went keto, whole foods were not, keto products were not a thing. Everything was whole food based. Like when you went keto, you were eating like bacon wrapped chicken leg quarters, salmon with butter and lemon, and like cauliflower rice with butter. And you might get away with like one keto bar. Like I think there was like one out literally called the keto bar back then.
Yep.
There was like nothing, right? It was all, you were forced to eat whole foods. And just like the paleo diet, that's where it went astray, right? It was all whole foods. And then manufacturers and food companies wanted to make money. And so they developed products that were fitting the codes, and people just like, oh, well, this is paleo, so I'm on paleo. And it's like, it's not really, or this is keto because it says keto, so I'm on keto. And you're like, no, you're not really on keto. And so when I went, it was whole foods. So I was like, okay, I understand that a whole foods ketogenic diet does this. Why does it do this? And so I went on a journey. I literally went to school and I told my professor, I said, because I was supposed to speak at KetoCon right after I graduated, because this was in 2019. And I told her, I was like, I came here because I had bulimia, I had body dysmorphia, and keto really helps me with it. And I really want to understand why. And I did a lot of my papers. I remember there was a couple books I read, Brain Maker by Dr. Perlmutter, and some other ones. And I remember writing my book reports, and they always went back to, this fascinates me because I can see the correlation between this and body dysmorphia. I can see the correlation between this and eating disorders. And I think that gave me a huge outlet on what needed to be done if I was going to help people. Because I think before I went to school, I was just a keto coach. I knew how to coach people on how to do keto. But if you go to our website or you talk to any of the coaches that work for me now and me, we tell people we're holistic health coaches. And I tag on, I'm a nutritional therapist. But like our focus is the whole, because I realized that, people can eat right, but they can't eat right if their mind's not right. But their mind's not going to be right if they don't eat right. And so it's like, You have to understand that there's like, it's a web of things. And it's figuring out where to meet people where they're at, also challenge them to grow, but make sure that you're giving them the tools to benefit both, right? Like, okay, yeah, give them the right food list, but are you giving them mental work? Yeah, give them mental work, but are they eating the right foods? And it's like, how do you bring that balance? And I think that educating myself on that definitely brought balance. And it was interesting listening to you talk, because as you're describing things that were going on with like, K and the gut health and the hunger signalings, as well as, stomach acid. A lot of people don't know, stomach acid is such an issue in America for loads of reasons. Yeah. But that all makes sense to me. I understand exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. And I think that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know that fermented foods can have a very strong impact on your serotonin levels, which if we look at how body dysmorphia, for example, body dysmorphia tends to be treated with SSRIs, serotonin dumping agents. It's the same thing we use to treat depression and anxiety. Why? Mm-hmm. Well, because that we can theorize. There's no studies done on this, but we can theorize based off the studies that is a good use that is a good medication for it. That body dysmorphia is a manifestation. It's a mental manifestation of imbalances of your neurotransmitter levels, right? Serotonin, to be exact. So I like to call depression, anxiety, and body dysmorphia ugly cousins, because you can have 3 people in a room, all with low serotonin levels, and one might have anxiety, one might have depression, and one might have body dysmorphia, right? It's just the way that it manifests itself in that person, depending on past trauma, all that stuff. But like a lot of people don't know that, like, your gut health, right? Getting in fermented and cultured foods, eating animal proteins and amino acids. They don't realize that those 2 things in sunlight are like 3 key components to dealing with depression, anxiety, or body dysmorphia. Absolutely, 100%. If you're not doing those things, you need to get on those things, because you're literally doing yourself a disservice trying to fight depression, but you're putting your body in an environment where, like, that's why it's producing depression, right? It's not producing depression because you don't like life. You need to work on that and that perspective. Absolutely. But your body's producing a sense of depression because it doesn't have enough serotonin, and it doesn't have enough serotonin because you're not getting out in the sun. You're not eating enough. Maybe you do have a gene that doesn't produce serotonin well. Maybe you need to get on something. But how do you know if you don't look into it and you don't make sure that you're taking care of all these things first? So, yeah, I think being able to learn how that all worked opened up my eyes to not only myself, but being able to properly impact others.
Gosh, you said so much there. I don't want to forget what I wanted to touch on. But number 1, cortisol and dopamine. Okay, dopamine is the hit that we want from any addiction, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Gambling, sex, porn, cocaine, and alcohol, and food. Mm-hmm. All of them are giving us that dopamine hit that we're trying to get after. So how do we get that dopamine to get into a more regulated, normal level to get us away from our addictions? And just like you're talking about, those things that are so important, the nutrition, the vitamin D, getting out in the sunlight. Also, those things are going to help lower your cortisol. If your cortisol is too high, then you are actually increasing your blood sugar, and that's going to dysregulate your blood sugar, and you will then have those binges and those urges and those cravings because of stress and chronic stress, releasing so much cortisol. So I love how you're talking about the relationship with the hormones. And before I forget, for those who don't know what body dysmorphia is, why don't you explain what it is?
Yeah, sorry about that. So I forget sometimes. I forget to explain it. So body dysmorphic disorder is categorized as a mental disorder where you have a realistic, twisted perspective of yourself. You have a dysfunctional dysphoria towards your body. Meaning, and best way I know how to explain this is using someone that's struggled with anorexia severely, right? When you see them, you see somebody that's sick, that's not eating a lot. If they think they're fat, they literally see the fat. Like they become dysphorically hyper focused on extra skin, and they literally their minds create this vision of themselves that they can see in reality. A great example of this too is like when a lot of bodybuilders, when they're absolutely at their leanest, will tell you, I feel watery, I feel fat, right? And, let's say 6 months later, when they're back at a normal weight, they'll look back and go, dude, I was diced. Like, what was I thinking? But in the moment, they've literally distorted the way they look to themselves. And that happens to body dysmorphia, bodybuilders a lot because of the malnutrition towards the end. But like a lot of people just struggle with this. And so I would say Because I think a lot of people have negative self-image. I think that that's something that we as a struggle, like we as a culture, due to the standards that the media and Hollywood permeate as, you know, a healthy body, a sexy body, all that stuff. I think we all struggle with negative self-image. I would say, and I agree, I'm not a doctor. You have to go get diagnosed. But I would say the thing that really separates the two is that body dysmorphia is negative self-image that leads to self-harm. I would say that, you know, a lot of people go, you know, I don't like that about me, but whatever, right? But then you have other people that don't like it so much, they're willing to cut that body part off, or they're willing to starve themselves, or they're whatever, right? When it leads to self-harm and it becomes an obsession, that's when I would say that would be where it translates into body dysmorphia and an actual like mental thing that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a short commercial break real quick and come right back and talk to Jonathan Shane. Welcome back to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sarah Banta, the owner of Accelerated Health Products. And today we have Jonathan Shane talking all things healthy relationship with food and eating disorders. Jonathan, one thing we haven't touched on is anybody, whether it's in someone suffering from an eating disorder or someone who is just using food as a reward, which is just promoted left and right on commercials, socially. You know, I have so many clients that say, I'm so good during the day, Sarah. I intermittent fast. I stick to my low carb diet. And then I have 2 to 4 glasses of wine every night. Or I have to have my ice cream and my cookies. And then I just, you know, I'm treating myself as a reward at night. And usually I say it's at night because that's what most people do. How do you help your clients reset that relationship with food so that they're rewarding themselves with other things or have a healthy relationship with food as a reward?
No, I think that's a great question. So I think there's a couple steps. I think the first one, and I have this conversation with every client that I work with, and I tell them that food is not fun, but it is fuel that can be enjoyed. And it's when we're willing to see it through that light, it's super important, right? That doesn't mean food has to be nasty. You should eat food that tastes good, but it is fuel. And I think getting people to really wrap their minds around that is super important, right? When we look at before food became convenient, we ate for fuel. We ate for nourishment. We ate so that we could live to the next day, right? That doesn't mean that everything our ancestors ate were nasty, right? That isn't, I mean, we look at the Bible, for example, and we see feasts, like delicious feasts, but what do we see? We see if they ate bread, it was properly prepared. It was sprouted things. It wasn't the wheat that we eat nowadays. When they ate lots of animals, and they ate the whole animal. We see the Passover in Egypt before the people of Israel left. God says, eat everything of the animal. So we see partaking of the whole animal, organs and all, leave nothing behind, right? Burn what's not eaten. And so we see an encouragement of eating animals, eating organs, no matter how you look at history. And we've just really taken a step back from that. And so I think it's establishing the idea of like food is not fun, but fuel that can be enjoyed, right? Yeah. I think the second thing is to make them understand that old habits can't be changed in old environments. You can't put fresh wine in old wineskin. It will break, right? And so I encourage them to get a book that they can get Audible or read it. Your listeners, I would encourage them to do this. There's a book called Atomic Habits. It's an amazing book. And something they say in there that I work with my clients, even though they decide not to get the book, is understanding that the best way to create a new habit is to create a new environment, right? So if you're eating, if you feel like you have to have that ice cream before bed or have to have that wine before bed, my first question is, have you changed your environment at all? If you really want to change your habits, have you changed your environment, or do you do the same thing right before bed every night? What if that environment is leading to that habit? What if you change your environment? What if you do something different? An example I give is, let's say that you're somebody that gets home from stressing out and you drive into the garage, you park your car, you walk up the stairs, you go to the kitchen, you eat. What if instead, because you really want to change that habit, we start parking outside the garage door and we go to the mailbox first? That little environment change, if you're willing to apply, okay, now that I'm out of the car, I'm walking to the mailbox with the sun out. I have time to think about my day. I can decompress. And by the time I get into the house, I can go do what I needed to do. And I'm not as hyper-focused on getting to the kitchen because I'm not following the same environment. So the habit's not as impulsive. And that's not always easy to do, right? There is some effort, but the effort is a lot more conducive to fixing the issue if you're creating a new environment for the new habit. The third thing, and this is something that I work with them directly, is what I call my ROAD method. So the ROAD method is an acronym for remove, observe, action, and discipline. So the R stands for remove, which means if you found yourself in a situation that's negative, you need to remove yourself from that environment. I don't care if you're at dinner with friends and they pick on you, they say something that triggers you. I don't care if you're in the kitchen eating, through a pack of cookies. I don't care if you're in your bed. If you're doing something that's triggering you, you need to remove yourself from the environment. Go for a walk, go breathe, go do something. Even if you're in the middle of the act, whether you're at the beginning or the middle, go, remove yourself. The second thing is observe, create self-awareness. Why did I do this? What am I getting out of this? Why do I feel like I need to do this? Really build self-awareness. You cannot address a problem that you don't know is there, and you won't know it's there until you address yourself. So observe yourself, create self-awareness. The third step is action. Okay, so you remove yourself from the situation, you've calmed down, you've separated yourself, you've created some awareness, you understand why you're doing it, what's going on. Now you're going to create action steps and boundaries to better deal with this environment. And then the last one is discipline. And the reason the last one is discipline is because none of that is easy. And if you don't apply discipline, all the other three are for naught. There's no point in doing all those if you can't be disciplined, right? Because motivation's great. And you might listen to this and be super motivated. Like, oh, that ROAD method sounds awesome. I'm going to apply it. Discipline is what you need when that method is not nice to you, when it's hard. Because motivation is like a very small fire. The minute it rains, it's gone, right? But discipline is like a fire that's burning bright that you keep throwing wood at. And so even if the rain comes, you're fueling that thing. And it might simmer down. It might not be as hot sometimes, but it's going to continue to burn regardless of how the environment is around it. And so being willing to be disciplined with those three first action steps is where it becomes impactful long-term.
I love that. And back to the changing the habits, that cue. In the book, he talks about the cue leading up to the habit and changing the cue, or you're almost following a cue mindlessly into the habit, right? And so when you break that cue, you break that relationship where then you're actually using your brain to change something. And we will be living like robots if we just let our days go with our natural cues that we do day in and day out. We have to forcefully, actively, proactively change that cue leading to that. I love that. We just have a few minutes left, and this is what I really am so excited to have you on, because when I became aware of the ketogenic diet, which was when you did, I started listening to a lot of people out there, and women especially, who said the keto diet is what healed their disordered eating. And some people would say, oh, well, that's intermittent fasting. That's all of these things that seem like they would actually feed into an eating disorder. But just by regulating blood sugar with a low carb, more ketogenic diet, it is able to heal someone's relationship with food. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think that the ketogenic diet, a lot of people only go to it for weight loss, and they really don't realize the power it has when it comes to the subject that we're talking about, right? And I think it's healing for a couple of reasons. I think you've covered a lot of this already. I think one, people don't understand not only that like fat isn't bad for you, but it's the type of fats, right? Like they dictate so much on a cellular level, inflammation regulation, cell integrity. Think about it like this: your cell membrane, which is the cover, if you will, of your cells, is made up of fatty acids. If those fats that you're eating are unstable, they're rancid, they're oxidized, then the cells of your body are going to be rancid, unstable, and oxidized. They just are. You can't get around it. You literally are what you eat. Like, I know this sounds weird to say, and that's why I go back to the idea like food is fuel that can be enjoyed, because I don't care how much you like Twinkies. If you eat one, your body at some point will use that to make things. Your body will be made out of a Twinkie. Like that is the reality of it. Mm-hmm. And people don't like to look at it that way because they like their vices. They want to eat the food and not feel bad about it. And guilt does not have to like avoiding guilt doesn't have to lead to willful ignorance, right? There's a way to go, you know what? This is occasional. I can have this because I'm choosing to. And if you choose to do that with your life, be empowered with that. It's very different than going, I don't want to admit that this is bad for me because then I have to do something about it. So I'm going to act like everything's okay and just eat it anyways. But anyways, so I don't want to go off on a tangent, but going back to the fats, right? So fatty acids are extremely important. And I think the ketogenic diet emphasizes them, whether, because we've seen in the space, super high fat, super low fat, regardless, you're still going to be getting in quite a bit more fat than the average American in your diet. And it's going to be healthy, whole food diet fats. Not possibly. I just totally had a brain space. I hope so. Like, I hope that it's the healthy fats, because what we see now is a lot of people are eating the keto treats, which there are some brands out there that make great things that are keto friendly. Like Primal Kitchen, that's a great brand, right? It's a great brand, but there are other brands that do not care about your health. They do not care about your health. They want to fit the dogma and they just want your money. They don't care about how healthy you are. And so I think that's super important. I think another reason why the ketogenic diet is so healthy for these things is the amino acids. People do not get enough protein in their diets, both on keto sometimes and on a standard American diet. And amino acids, your body, every amino acid is essential. Every amino acid is essential. You need to eat amino acids. Now, there are essential amino acids and ones your body can curate for sure. But like when I say essential in this respect, I mean like you got to get them in. Like you've got to get them in abundance. You have to eat enough of them. You're talking your complement proteins, your immune system, your muscles, your skeletal muscle system, your joints, your ligaments, your hormones. Like protein plays a huge role in all that. Your gut health, which again reverts back to this mental health conversation that we're having. Like you've got to get your protein. And the ketogenic diet tends to focus on whole food, animal, fatty meats. And so you tend to naturally get in a lot more of those complete amino acid profiles that can be so beneficial. And then you have obviously the carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are going to be limiting of sugar and of things that are going to stress out your body, that are going to cause a lot of cortisol, sugar imbalances, and things like that. And so just going at it from a ketogenic perspective when it comes to healing, it can be so powerful. And that's why we see like keto doesn't just help with weight loss. It helps with Alzheimer's. It's helping reverse type 2 diabetes everywhere. It's helping with people like me with body dysmorphia and bulimia. And again, it's not about, and this is a tangent I could talk about all day, but it's not about removing food groups. A lot of people that don't want to do keto make it about that. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to be restrictive, but you're not. Let me tell you something. No one, I run ultra marathons. Okay. No one can tell me I can't eat a cupcake. I could easily go and eat a cupcake. Of course I could. No one's stopping me. I'm not stopped. I empowered and wanting to be my best self, choose not to eat those foods. Right. Yeah. The difference between empowerment and restriction is perspective, and perspective alone. You're not taking away the food group. You're eating less carbs. You're not eating zero carbs, which if you're carnivore, that's fine too. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying like in this conversation, like people make it about that because they want to justify not trying it or not sticking with it. And the reality is that it's not about that. It's about what are you choosing in an empowered way to do what's best for your body. And I think that when we're willing to see it in that light and realize that, well, no, it's just about going, okay, obviously these people are talking, Jonathan and Sarah, right? And obviously there's benefits to this diet and I'm dealing with these same issues. I need to be empowered and make the choice that's best for me, regardless of what other people think of that choice. And if that means removing rice from my diet and removing, Kraft Ranch and eating Primal Kitchen Ranch and chicken, then that's what that means. And being willing to make those adjustments, I think, is when people, and be consistent with those and have discipline with those, I think is when people really start to see the health of a ketogenic diet take over their entire lives, all the way, fully.
I have to tell you, I don't think I've told you this, is that I was introduced to keto, and this was a God thing, after a car accident, because I had brain inflammation, memory loss. Here I am, a girl that had graduated from Stanford with almost straight A's, and I'm sitting there in the shower forgetting to wash the shampoo out of my hair after my car accident. I had headaches. I had just anxiety that I've never experienced before. All of these brain things that were going on from my car accident, and keto was the solution. And it made me feel so much better mentally and got me more stable. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's something to this. And then, oh, by the way, I'm not having that tired spell at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. My blood sugar's even. And it's actually freeing. When people say it's restrictive, it was the most freedom that I've ever felt from that relationship with food. I don't think about food in an unhealthy way. I think of it as fuel. I want to feel my best. At the age of 46, I have more energy physically and mentally than I did in high school, in my early 20s, in my 30s, better than ever. And it's because of I'm viewing that food as fuel. And when I do choose to eat, I choose foods that are going to fuel my body, taste good, and leave me feeling really good about myself physically and mentally. Well, Jonathan, we are all out of time, and I'm just so grateful for you being on, because you have so much to give to this world, and I want to make sure people have an ability to contact you for your one-on-one coaching. So please tell people where they can find you and follow you.
Absolutely. So Instagram at The Keto Road, Facebook / The Keto Road, theketoroad.com, theketoroad@gmail.com. That's all pretty universal. TikTok is it's for my program. It's a primal_metabolism. It's more of like the way that I like to diet and stuff. Anyways, I like to talk about it. And then my YouTube is Performance Gains, which is for my new supplement company. So it's Performance Gains. The performance doesn't have the A in it, and then Gains with a Z. And I'll give you all those links so you have them. But yeah, you can literally follow all that. DM me anywhere. I'm an open book. I love talking with people and helping them. I offer one-on-one coaching. I offer 2 PDFs, one about keto and one about Paleolithic keto. I also have group coaching. And then again, my one-on-one, we do weight loss coaching, holistic health coaching, and I do clinical nutritional therapy focused on metabolic health. So if you need anything, you need to reach out, please feel free. I am here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know my listeners need you and want you, so I really appreciate you being on. And thank you everyone else for joining us today. If I can help you, you can contact me at sarah@acceleratedhealthproducts.com or through just the website. I'm happy to put together a protocol for you. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products, and my YouTube channel under Accelerated Health Radio. You can also find this episode and all of my episodes on over 100 podcast channels, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. I also do Accelerated Health Bites, where I do short informational videos and health topics and solutions that you ask me about. If you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share this with a few of your friends who may need my help, and especially Jonathan's help help. My goodness, everybody does. And as you share my channel, it helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests to my show. Join us every week at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays Pacific time, and you can find the supplements I mentioned and many informational videos on my website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. You can also use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Jonathan.
Bye.